My girlfriend tried to change me into her ex, so I changed my locks, my future, and my life, without including her in any of it. I'm a 29-year-old guy who, honestly, believed I'd found the love of my life in Emma. She wasn't just beautiful, she had this effortless confidence that filled every room she walked into. The kind of woman who looked people straight in the eye, smiled like she already knew the punchline, and made you feel lucky just to be standing next to her. From the first date, she made me feel like I was finally seen, like I wasn't just another guy she met on an app, but someone special. The first few months were a blur of late-night drives, inside jokes, and I can't believe we're this perfect together moments. She said I was everything she'd ever wanted. Attentive, grounded, funny in the right way. I didn't realize then that her definition of perfect came with conditions. It started small. Little comments dropped between kisses and laughter. "You kind of remind me of someone I used to know," she'd say, her voice soft but far away. Or, "You'd look really good with your hair a bit shorter, trust me." I thought it was cute, like she was trying to help me look my best. But after a while, it wasn't just my hair. It was the way I dressed, the cologne I wore, even the music I listened to. I remember once, during a dinner date, she smiled and said, "Wow, that's exactly how he used to hold his fork." She didn't even realize she said he. Something in my stomach twisted, but I laughed it off. I didn't want to ruin the night or seem insecure. But as I drove home later, her words echoed in my head like static I couldn't tune out. Who was this someone she used to know? And why did it feel like he was sitting between us the entire time? At first, I didn't think much of her suggestions. She'd casually say things like, "You'd look so good in darker colors," or "You should grow your beard just a little. Trust me." It sounded harmless, affectionate even. I told myself she just had good taste. She started sending me links to shirts she thought would fit my vibe better, playlists she said felt more like us, and YouTube workout. Routines that she'd conveniently play while we ate. Dinner. "Don't you want to get a little more toned?" She'd tease, smiling. "You'd look amazing if you did." At first, I laughed along. I mean, what guy doesn't want his girlfriend to think he looks amazing? But over time, it stopped feeling like encouragement and started feeling like a checklist. Each day, there was something new to improve. My hairstyle, my shoes, even the way I texted. I remember showing up to a friend's barbecue one weekend, wearing a new outfit she picked out for me. Tight jeans and a beige shirt that wasn't really my thing. My best friend grinned and said, "Dude, since when do you dress like a Pinterest boyfriend?" Everyone laughed. I laughed too, but inside I felt something sink, because they were right. I was turning into someone I didn't recognize. That night, I asked Emma if she ever missed her ex. She looked up from her phone, confused. "Why would you even ask that?" she said. I told her I felt like she was trying to change me into someone else. She laughed, actually laughed, and said, "Oh, stop. I just know what looks good on you. You should thank me." I smiled weakly and said nothing. But as she turned back to scrolling, I caught myself staring at her reflection in the dark window, and for the first time, I wondered if she loved me for me, or for the version of me she was slowly building. It happened on an ordinary night, the kind where nothing feels out of place until everything suddenly does. Emma and I were curled up on the couch, half watching a rom-com while she scrolled through her phone. I remember the flicker of her screen catching my eye, a Facebook notification, one of those memories from 3 years ago. Her thumb hovered over it, and when she opened it, I caught a glimpse before she could tilt the screen away. It was a slideshow of her and her ex. The photos scrolled automatically, her face glowing in the light of the screen. She wasn't smiling, not exactly, but there was this softness, this quiet longing in her eyes. I recognized the jacket the guy was wearing. It was the same one she'd bought me for my birthday, the haircut, the same style she insisted would frame my face better, even the car they were leaning on, the same model she'd been hinting at for months, saying it fit my personality. I froze. Every little suggestion, every change she'd nudged me into, it all clicked. She wasn't shaping me into her dream guy. She was resurrecting someone else. She must have felt me watching because she quickly locked her phone and laughed. Ugh, Facebook's the worst for old memories. Her tone was breezy, but her hands trembled slightly. I wanted to ask, who was he? Why am I wearing his life? But instead I just nodded, pretending to agree. The words sat heavy in my throat, choking me with a mix of jealousy and humiliation. As the movie played in the background, I glanced at her. The way she leaned into me, the way her perfume lingered, the way she whispered, "You're perfect, you know that?" And all I could think was, perfect for who? I couldn't hold it in anymore. One evening, I finally told Emma how her comparisons and constant suggestions were starting to get under my skin. I tried to keep my voice calm, gentle. I didn't want to start a fight. "Sometimes it feels like you want me to be someone else," I said, my words barely above a whisper. She stared at me for a long moment, then laughed, a sharp, dismissive sound that made my stomach twist. "You're overthinking it," she said, shaking her head. "Why do you always take things so seriously? I'm just trying to help you be your best self. You should be flattered that I think you have potential." Flattered. That word stung more than any insult. When I didn't immediately agree, her tone shifted. She sighed dramatically and said, "I can't believe you'd twist something so innocent. Do you even care about us? Or do you just like finding reasons to argue?" Every time I tried to stand my ground, the script was the same. She'd cry, tell me I was hurting her, then somehow make me feel like the bad guy. "You're making me feel unloved," she'd whisper through tears, and suddenly I'd find myself apologizing. Not because I believed I was wrong, but because I couldn't stand watching her cry. It became a cycle. I'd express how I felt, she'd twist it, cry, and I'd comfort her. It was like emotional quicksand. The harder I tried to explain myself, the deeper I sank into guilt. At night, lying beside her, I'd stare at the ceiling and wonder if maybe she was right. Maybe I was too sensitive, too insecure. But another voice, the quieter, stubborn part of me, whispered that something was deeply wrong, and that voice was getting louder every day. Months slipped by, and with each one I felt myself fading. The man I used to be, the one who loved old-school rock, wore worn-out hoodies, and laughed too loud at dumb jokes, was gone. In his place stood someone I barely recognized. My wardrobe had transformed overnight into neatly pressed shirts and designer jackets. My playlists were now filled with soft indie tracks Emma loved. Even the way I spoke had changed. Smoother, quieter, less embarrassing, as she once called it. She'd run her hands through my hair and smile, saying, "You've finally matured. You're becoming the man I always knew you could be." And for a second I'd feel proud, like I'd done something right. But that pride never lasted. Because deep down, I knew I wasn't becoming better. I was becoming someone else. I remember one night out with our friends when the conversation drifted to old memories. My best friend Liam laughed and said, "Man, you sound so different these days. Emma's really rubbed off on you, huh?" Everyone chuckled, but his words hit harder than I expected. A week later, I overheard Emma talking to one of her friends on the phone. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop, but her voice carried through the hallway. She said, "He's finally becoming my dream guy." She said it with this tone, not of love but of triumph, like she'd just finished a long project. My stomach tightened. I realized it wasn't a compliment. It was a confession of control. That night I looked in the mirror and felt a chill. My reflection stared back. Same face, same eyes, but it didn't feel like me. It felt like a stranger Emma had created, wearing my skin. And for the first time, the thought crossed my mind. Maybe I needed to disappear before I completely vanished. It was a lazy Sunday afternoon. Emma was in the shower, and I was sitting on the couch scrolling through her laptop trying to cue a movie for us. She'd left her files open, and as I minimized a few windows, I noticed a folder on the desktop titled Memories. I almost ignored it. Everyone keeps old photos, right? But something about the capital letters, the neatness of the title, the way it sat centered on the screen, drew me in. Curiosity got the best of me. I clicked. Inside were dozens of subfolders, each organized by year. At first, it looked innocent. Her and her ex on trips, birthdays, random selfies. But then I noticed something off. A pattern. Every folder had images of them, and then images of us. Same beach trip, different year. Same restaurant. Even the same matching outfits. My heartbeat quickened as I clicked deeper. There were side-by-side comparisons. Literally. Photos of her and her ex posing in front of a mural, and right next to it, a recent photo of me and her in front of the same wall. I scrolled faster, disbelief morphing into nausea. Same jacket, same watch, same stupid captions recycled word for word on her social media posts. It wasn't coincidence, it was replication. I wasn't her boyfriend. I was her project. The realization hit like a gut punch. Every haircut, every suggestion, every compliment had been part of a blueprint, a sick attempt to rebuild the man who'd left her. I sat there frozen, the glow of the screen painting the room in this cold, ghostly light. When I finally heard the shower turn off, I closed the laptop gently, my hands trembling. I didn't confront her, not yet. I just smiled when she came out, pretending everything was fine. But inside, something in me had snapped. When I finally confronted Emma, I expected denial. I expected her to tell me I was crazy, that I misunderstood. But she didn't. The moment I said, "I saw the folder," her face went pale, not shocked, just caught. She sat down slowly, hands trembling, and whispered, "I didn't mean for you to find that." "What was it for?" I asked, my voice colder than I intended. Tears welled in her eyes. "I was just healing," she said. "He hurt me so badly. I thought if I could recreate the good parts, maybe I could move on." Healing. That's what she called it. Turning me into her emotional Frankenstein was healing. I should have walked out right then. But instead, I stayed. Maybe it was pity. Maybe I wanted to believe she could change. Or maybe I was just too tired to start over. So I told her, if we're going to make this work, things need to change. For a few weeks, they did. She became soft-spoken again, attentive, even affectionate. She'd hold my hand at dinner and whisper, "Thank you for giving me another chance." She deleted the photos, promised to focus on us, and for a fleeting moment, I almost believed her, but the cracks never really sealed. There were moments, tiny, telling moments, that gave her away, like when she'd call me a nickname she once used for him, then quickly correct herself, or when she'd post a photo of us with the same caption she used in one of those old side-by-side shots. I didn't say anything. Not yet. Instead, I smiled, nodded, and played the part she wanted, all while quietly pulling back, inch by inch. She thought I'd forgiven her, but what she didn't realize was that I'd stopped loving her the moment I saw that folder. It was a Tuesday night. Quiet, uneventful. I was in the kitchen cooking dinner while Emma was in the bedroom, supposedly on a work call. The door was half open, and her voice carried down the hallway, low but familiar. I wasn't listening at first, until I heard his name, her ex. My chest tightened. I froze, wooden spoon in hand, straining to catch her tone. It wasn't angry. It wasn't even sad. It was flirty. Soft laughs, that playful lilt she used to have with me in the beginning. I felt the blood drain from my face. Then she said it. Clear as day. "I just miss how things used to be. You knew me better than anyone." It was like a switch flipped in my head. The sizzling pan hissed behind me. The smell of burnt food filled the room, but I couldn't move. I just stood there, staring at the wall, listening to her voice. Gentle, nostalgic, alive in a way it hadn't been with me in months. When the call ended, I heard her phone buzz again. A message. I didn't have to look. My gut already knew it was me. I glanced down at my phone on the counter, and there it was. "Let's go to dinner tonight. I feel closer to you lately." My stomach churned. She wasn't talking to me when she said that line to him. She was talking about me, about how I'd become close enough to him. The replica she built had finally come full circle. That was the night everything broke. Not just the illusion of love, but the illusion of myself. I felt disgusted, hollow, and small, not because she betrayed me, but because I had let her. I had willingly lived in the echo of another man's life, and I swore right then that echo was going to die with me. After that night, something inside me went still. The anger, the confusion. It all burned out, leaving behind this cold, focused calm. I realized confronting her again would only lead to another cycle of tears and twisted words. She'd cry, I'd comfort her, and nothing would change. So instead, I decided to play the part she wanted. One last time. I smiled when she wanted me to smile. I agreed when she made her little suggestions. I let her think she still had control. But behind that mask, I was already gone. Every morning before she woke up, I'd check listings for new apartments. I opened a new bank account, started transferring my savings little by little, and even created a new email, one she didn't know existed. She'd sit across from me at dinner, rambling about our future, about the trips we'd take, the house we'd buy, even the wedding she'd been daydreaming about. I'd nod, smile, and say, "Yeah, that sounds amazing." But in my head, I was already packing boxes. The strange thing was, the more distance I created, the more she seemed to relax, like she believed she'd finally fixed me. She'd tell her friends how happy we were, how I'd grown up, how we were finally in sync. Meanwhile, I was rediscovering pieces of myself she'd buried. Old songs, old hobbies. Even my laugh sounded different when she wasn't around. It became my quiet revenge. Not loud, not explosive, but deeply personal. I was taking my freedom back one silent decision at a time. And the best part? She never suspected a thing. Every fake smile, every gentle nod was another brick in the wall between us. By the time she'd realize I was gone, I'd already be on the other side. Unreachable. When the day finally came, it was almost too quiet. Emma left early for work, kissing me goodbye like everything was normal. I watched her walk out the door, her perfume still lingering in the air, and for a fleeting second I almost hesitated. But then I caught sight of the mirror by the hallway, the reflection of the man she'd built, not the man I was. And that hesitation turned to resolve. I started packing immediately. My clothes, my books, my guitar, the few pieces of myself that still felt like me. Each box felt lighter than the last, like I was peeling off layers of someone else's skin. By noon, the apartment looked hollow, stripped of every trace of my life. I left the key on the kitchen table, right beside a photo of us she'd framed. The one she once captioned, "My Forever." By the afternoon, I was standing inside my new place. Small, bare, but mine. I installed new locks before the sun even set, feeling the metal click into place like punctuation on the end of a long, painful chapter. Then I sent her one final message. "You built your dream man. Now you can keep dreaming." I stared at it for a long moment before hitting send. That night, my phone exploded with notifications, calls, texts, voice messages. I didn't answer a single one. Later, I heard from a neighbor that she'd shown up at the old apartment, pounding on the door, crying, shouting my name. I could almost picture it. Her realizing the control was gone, that I wasn't coming back. For the first time in years, I wasn't angry or heartbroken or lost. I was just free. And in that silence, that clean, empty space I now called home, peace finally found me. The days that followed were strangely calm. No chaos, no pleading voice at my door, just silence. Then, slowly, the messages started coming in through mutual friends. Screenshots, voice notes, even a few guilt-laced texts from her new number. "She says you abandoned her during her healing," one friend told me. "She's really torn up about it." I almost laughed. Healing, that word again. The same excuse she'd used to justify everything. The manipulation, the comparisons, the emotional puppeteering. At first I didn't respond. I didn't owe anyone an explanation. But then one night another message came from a mutual friend. Someone I actually cared about. "Man, I don't know what happened between you two," he wrote, "but she's telling people you used her, that you left out of nowhere. It's not looking good." That's when I decided to end the whispers. I met up with a small group of them, our old friend circle, and showed them the truth. My laptop, her memories folder, the side-by-side photos, One by one, their faces shifted from confusion to horror. Same outfits, same poses, same captions, same everything. Liam, my best friend, just muttered, "Dude, this is insane. I didn't gloat, didn't rage, didn't say, 'See? I told you so.' I just sat there, calm, as the weight of it finally lifted. I realized then that I wasn't bitter anymore. I wasn't even angry. Just done. She wasn't evil. At least, not in the storybook way. She was broken, haunted by something she couldn't let go of. But I finally understood it wasn't my job to fix her. It never had been. I had spent too long being someone else's bandage. From now on, I'd be my own foundation, and this time, no one else would get to build on top of me. Freedom didn't come overnight. The first few weeks felt like waking up from a long, heavy sleep. Groggy, disoriented, unsure of who I really was. I'd catch myself hesitating before choosing what to wear or what music to play, as if waiting for her approval. That's when I realized how deep her influence had sunk into my bones. She hadn't just changed my habits. She'd rewritten my instincts. So, I started small. I dusted off my old guitar, the one she once said looked too teenage. I played until my fingers ached, rediscovering sounds that felt like me. I reconnected with friends I'd drifted from, people who didn't flinch when I laughed too loud or cracked dumb jokes. I even took a solo trip to the mountains. No matching outfits, no curated captions, just cold air and silence. It wasn't easy, but with every new day I felt pieces of myself return. I stopped checking her social media, stopped replaying what went wrong. I even changed my number, a clean cut from the past. The locks I changed on my apartment weren't just to keep her out. They symbolized something bigger, shutting out the version of myself she had tried to build. One morning, a few months later, I caught my reflection in the mirror. No fancy jacket, no perfectly styled hair, just me, tired, imperfect, but real. For the first time in a long time, I didn't see a stranger staring back. I saw the man I used to be, and maybe the man I was meant to become all along. I wasn't her ex. I wasn't her project. I wasn't anyone's second draft. I was finally me. And this time, I didn't need her permission, or anyone else's, to stay that way.